Hello again, this is Tournament and a TeaBreak from Britwatch Sports. I'm Ros Satar.
And I'm Anita Stahl.
And we are on the verge of the women's semi-finals today. Exciting. We're starting off with Venus Williams and Daria Kasatkina. That's the first one up. This one I think might be a long one. They've always had fairly long matches, these two. Even though Venus couldn't actually remember ever having faced Kasatkina in Auckland, I believe.
Yeah, so they played each other twice, once in Auckland, which Kasatkina won. So it's kind of convenient that that's the match that Venus forgot. But that was 2016's 3-set match, and then they played again 2016 in Wimbledon, another 3 sets. But since y'all don't believe in the final set tie-break, that final set was 10-8 before Venus took it.
I mean, at the end of the day, Venus on grass is always going to be tough to beat. Kasatkina on hard, though, has proved to be quite a warrior. And I think, she's really cut her teeth on beating some of the big names and actually not caring at all about it, which is equally refreshing. Her last couple of matches haven't been like as epic, so she should come into this quite rested.
Yeah, I mean that's.
I'm trying to be nice.
Yeah, what she did to Angie Kerber in was it 58 minutes, 6-0, 6-2. I mean, that was just
brutal,
painful to watch. And yeah, Kerber wasn't at her best, but Kasatkina just knew how to capitalize and irritate Kerber to just knock her out.
Now the thing is, though, can she do that same kind of level of irritation to Venus? I mean, the head-to-head suggests that we could be in for a good long match to kick off proceedings.
Yeah, I think she can irritate her in the sense of bringing down her level of tennis, but probably not bring that kind of negativity. I think, quite honestly, you have to care a lot to get that negative and upset, and I just don't know that Venus is invested in the same way that Kerber was that would allow her to get that irritated.
Yeah, I mean, the difference between Kerber against Garcia, where she just came out and battered Garcia, quite frankly, versus effectively getting a taste of her own medicine yesterday was quite marked. Whereas Kasatkina is an absolute joy when she comes to press, because it's like water off a duck's back, really, which I suppose it should be anyway. But for her, it's even more like, let's talk about Barcelona.
Yeah, well, and I think so. Venus and Kasatkina are both coming at it with no pressure, no expectations. In the younger one's case, because when you're that young, there's no expectation that you beat one of the sport's greats. But at the same time, there's really no pressure or expectation on Venus either, because she's 37, 38 years old. She's done it all, so no one's going to fault her if she doesn't win it. So both of them, from very different angles, are coming at it with nothing left to lose at this point.
Now, who would you pick, though, for this one? Because I definitely see 3 sets in our horizon.
I picked Dasha.
Yeah, I agree, actually. There's just something about her this week that seems... It's not so much like a free-flowing, I've got nothing to lose, but, for me, what stands out is she's probably one of the best tactical thinkers of the young breed coming up. But she makes it look easy. Like she said in her press, actually my mind was really empty, whereas the press conference before, she was like, you have to think exactly where you want to place. I think she plays it down. I think she's tactically, she's one of the sharpest players out there, and I think that's what can frustrate. I don't know. I think 3, but I think it's going to be a grueling 3-setter.
Yeah, because she's jumping off what you said, like she's tactical without being cerebral, I think.
Yeah, good
I
description.
think the tactic comes so naturally to her where to place it that she doesn't get into her head the way a lot of other players might if they were trying to come up with that level of tactic.
And I mean, I suppose it's a fairly good opportunity to skip to the last of the semi-finals, which will be former champion Simona Halep and Naomi Osaka. And I think, following on from what you said, Osaka is probably one of those people that will, at some stage, get bound up in overthinking what she needs to do. Halep owns their head-to-head, because I think what she does, similarly to what she does with Karolina Pliskova, she absorbs that pace that comes at her and finds ways of sending it back with interest. And Osaka's game really suits Halep.
Yeah, I think Osaka, the trouble, if the match goes long, Osaka's really going to have a hard time keeping her concentration in it. I mean, this is the player who famously told in press conference at practice she got distracted thinking about these commercials about mesothelioma. And that tells you something about her. That I think 2 sets, she's got a good chance, but if she drops a set, I don't know that she can stay in it for a third mentally at this point.
Yeah, I mean, she's had such a good run. And to be fair to Osaka, she's really impressed me this tournament in particular. She's overcome quite a few mental challenges, I think is probably the best way of putting it, as she's come through. And even when she's up, she has a tendency to bring herself down. And Sasha Badgin is like kind of, you're doing good. And she's like, I know, but,
Yeah, and the skills are there, definitely, to beat Halep. It is hardcore. The ball's bouncing high, but it's still a slow surface. That, I think, just really creates different considerations than if you're comparing other hard court matches these players have. So I don't know that the 3-0 that Halep is leading their head-to-head is going to have too much of a bearing on this, because the surface is different. And I mean, these players, Osaka's young, and so she's improved so much since every one of their last matches that there has to be a turning point when you're playing against someone older. And so are you
leaning towards Osaka?
I'm leaning towards Osaka because I want to see an Osaka Kasatkina final, and then I want to see a web series that they do because they're both so much fun in press, and I want them to do a YouTube series together, and I want to watch their Snapchats. And I think it's time for this WTA next gen to
step
get
up.
moving.
I could see. I see this going 3 as well. I could see it going Osaka's way, but I just think Halep is finally foot pain free. I mean, everything else is aching, but I don't know. I think Halep will come through it. I think her experience will tell. I think she will drag it to 3 sets. And I think if it goes to 3 sets, it's going to be Halep.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the reasonable and probably correct answer.
I thought so.
I'm going with my feelings here, not even with my gut, because my gut instinct is Venus and Halep in the final. But
we've obviously sort of touched on the Kasatkina Osaka final would actually be the heralding of the next gen. But would it be so bad if we had a Venus and Halep final?
No, that would be. I mean, we're at this tournament. We're at a point where there's no constellation of players I wouldn't enjoy watching against each other in a final and think would produce an excellent final. And it's been like that already since the quarters, where anyone could have won, and there wasn't a sense of the final was already played in the 3rd round. Like you get sometimes at tournaments when the seedings are off. But in this case, I think it's really going to be worthy of a final, regardless of who wins the semis today.
Okay, I don't know. I think my gut instinct tells me that we're on for a Venus Halep final, and then it just depends on what the narrative is around that. Really, is this going to be a final vindication for Venus of all the history that went on in Indian Wells, or is this going to be a moment for Halep to actually sort of consolidate her number 1 position, and not be bouncing around number 1, trading it back and forth with Wozniacki, which could happen for a good few tournaments yet.
I mean, and you brought up the past here, not to get dark, but what happened in 2001, right, was that Venus Williams withdrew. So it's unclear what point in the day she told tournament officials
minutes before the match.
That's when it was announced. She claims that she'd actually been telling them all day, and they're like, no, you should play, it's fine. She's like, no, I'm really not well. And they're like, no, you should go and play. And then they announced it to a seated stadium a few minutes before, where, this 19-year-old kid's like, yeah, actually I'd been saying it all day and no one took my pain seriously, which if you reflect that with Serena's talk about the problems she had in the hospital and how Black women in the U.S. are treated with their expressions of pain. The point is, so that was 2001. She withdrew with a knee injury. And then when Serena came back and played the first time, she announced on Twitter minutes before her semifinal.
Oh, I know.
A knee problem. And there was a sense of like, repetition, but also like she knows exactly what's going on. And so this part of me thinks that we're gonna get to the warm-ups of tonight's Venus semifinal, and she'll just start to the crowd and be like, all right, I'm out. My knee hurts. I dare you to say anything.
Maybe that's why they put her on first.
Yeah.
So, yeah, maybe we should get restaurant reservations for 7.
Yeah, don't discredit that possibility, because that's
an interesting point, though. I mean,
like, it could be a long con of revenge against Indian Wells in the community that treated them so horrendously more than 15 years ago now. It's just a really long plotting revenge, like worthy of Edgar Allan Poe. Okay, maybe not quite. That's if they set the stadium on fire and lock all the doors. But
I worry about your reading material sometimes, mate.
It's classic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer Enid Blyton, but there you go. Okay, so obviously we will talk about the men tomorrow, but a quick word. Do we think that we're on course for the all-seeing, all-conquering Billy Goat Gruff to get another title and just generally rule the universe?
I mean, it's just kind of what you have to assume at this point. That's Roger Federer, for those of you who haven't seen pictures of his scruffy face lately.
You'd think somebody who earns like millions for getting out of bed could actually afford a razor, don't you?
No, this is his bad boy image. He's very Agassi, circa 1988.
Without the ball patches or the mullet.
It might just be an elaborate comb over.
Right, okay. We are going to leave it there. We will do our bit for wrapping up how the semi-finals go and a full final preview for you, and also how the men go. In the meantime, have a great day. Thank you for listening. You've been listening to Ros Satar
and Anita Stahl.